Okay, we'll start off with the two halachas of Lashon Hara. An embarrassing, the zchut of learning Lashon Hara should stand for refuah shlema for Chagit Renana Bat Sarah amongst all of Cholei Am Yisrael. Amen. Amen. An embarrassing statement about another person would be called Lashon Hara if it is true. Also, a statement that could harm someone physically or make him lose money or even just disturb or frighten him would be Lashon Hara. Saying something embarrassing about another person that is untrue would be Motzi Shem Ra. A person who speaks Lashon Hara regularly would be called a Baal Lashon Hara. By practicing the laws of Shmirat HaLashon, watching one's speech, a person keeps the mitzvah of Lo Tilech Rachil Be'amecha. Do not go as a Rachil, as a gossiper amongst your people. He may be keeping many other mitzvahs as well. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Be'ezrat Hashem. Actually, we got this new beautiful book. If anyone wants to buy it, it's a really nice book. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should keep the laws of Lashon Hara. Okay, so Purim and Geulah. Be'ezrat Hashem, today we'll talk about the idea of how we can see not only the collective Geulah, but the unfolding of our own personal Geulah, Be'ezrat Hashem, through the story of Purim, through the story of the Megillah. I want to start off by referring where Esther Malka is actually mentioned in the Torah. We've spoken about this verse before, so I just want to bring it back home so that we could talk about it a little bit more, about the whole idea of Anochi, Aster, Hastir Panai, which is written in Sefer Dvarim, about the whole idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, in this generation, at the end of days, there will be a double concealment, a concealment within a concealment. And what does this mean for us? It means, in essence, that the first concealment is really a concealment of the conscious mind, of the da'at. It's a concealment whereby we will be fooled into a reality where we will think that Hashem isn't at all present, that there's no sense in looking for Him. In other words, we'll be in a reality where it's kedai for me, it's worthwhile for me to look for something if I know that it's here. If I know someone's hiding in this room, I'm going to look for them in this room. But if I don't know, if in my mind I have no clue that there's someone hiding, obviously I'm going to go about my business. I'm not going to even bother looking for him. That's the reality, unfortunately, that we're told is going to be the reality of the end of days, where we're not going to even know that Hashem is hiding. We're going to assume that He's totally left the reality. Chas v'shalom. He's not even here. And so I won't even bother to seek Him out. And so what does the Baal Shem Tov bring down and teach us, HaKadosh? He says, well, if you could break through that consciousness, if you can live in that reality where you say, this is by divine design. Oh, this is what they were talking about when it was written, Anochi Astir. That means that Hashem said that at the end of days He's going to doubly hide. Okay, now I could bring my consciousness back, I can be aware, I can fine-tune my awareness, and I can make myself be put in that position where I'm going to actively seek Him out. That is how I break that first veil. So in other words, this is the first veil, here's the second veil, here's Hashem. I've now, by consciously knowing that He is in fact hiding, even though it appears to be that He's not, I've already now moved myself from here to here. I'm one step closer to finding Hashem. And that's in essence what is called the exile of Da'at, which means that we're actually in the place right now where we're emotionally in exile. Emotionally, we feel that Hashem, Chas v'shalom, is not with us. And so this is where we actually find a hint towards the idea of Esther Malka. Astir has the name Esther in it. It's likened to Esther. And so the idea is through the Megillah, we have the same avoda. The same exact avoda is to find Hashem through the sequence of events. Something very interesting that we learn is whenever, as we know, that every time Hashem's name is mentioned in the Torah, Yud Kei Vav Kei, for instance, depicts the manifestation of a compassionate, merciful HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we have the name Elokim, it depicts judgment, more harshness, a hiddenness behind the Teva, through nature and natural courses of life. And when we have the name Anochi, which is what we see in this particular verse, Anochi, we're taught by Chazal, is Ke, the letter Kaf, is separated from Ani. Ke Ani. So Anochi really depicts a situation where it's Ke Ani, like me. Whenever we see the word Anochi, Hashem is saying, it's going to appear like it's me, but you're not going to quite really know. So even in the whole idea of the way the word is actually written out, we have this idea of hiddenness, of questioning, of it possibly not being Hashem, Chas v'shalom, behind it. And this is where the avoda, our avoda in this world, is most important, where we're supposed to, yes, work at finding Hashem throughout everything. And this is, in essence, the idea behind bridging the heart and the mind. Between me seeing something and my mind is telling me, could it be, could it not be Hashem? Maybe it is, maybe it's not Hashem. It's logical, but it's not quite logical. And my heart saying, but it's so painful. How could a Hashem who is so loving, who's so compassionate, how can he do it? But this is the idea, is once I recognize that everything is by divine design, and that when we learn the idea that the heart and mind they have to work together. It doesn't matter if it makes sense to me or not. I have to inject in my heart all the time that Hashem loves me, the awareness that Hashem is with me, and that in itself, again, cuts through that first veil, combines me together, heart and mind, and I'm able to readily see Hashem throughout everything. And this, in essence, sweetens the judgments at the roots. This avoda is what takes us out of our Mitzrayim, what takes us out of our Galut. Mitzrayim is Meitzar Yam, the narrowness of the sea. The sea, Chazal teach us, is the idea of the sea is covering all of the land. Covering all the land, the idea of the Shechina Kedosha, that Hashem covers the entire land. Meitzar Yam means a narrowness, so to speak, of the idea of the Shechina. Narrowing Hashem's presence, narrowing the idea that Hashem is not involved in our lives. To take us out of Mitzrayim means to, again, inject conscious awareness that Hashem is in everything. That's how we get out of our Mitzrayim. And that's why there's a mitzvah, that every generation should see themselves as if they themselves have come out of Egypt. But I'm not coming out of Egypt, but it's the idea that every single one of us is in our own Egypt. We are in our narrow-mindedness of thinking that Chas v'shalom Hashem is not involved, Chas v'shalom, in our lives. So the idea of Purim is what I call a love story. It's a love story between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're together with Hashem, we stray from Hashem, we do tshuva, and then we unite back with Hashem. In essence, it's actually the story of every relationship that we try to form in this world. Every relationship we form in this world, we're lovey-dovey with our spouse, we're lovey-dovey with our child, we get this little baby and she's so cute and we can't find anything wrong. And then, God forbid, we stray, we get angry at them, we blame them, we feel mistreated by them, we have complaints toward them. And then the idea, what is really the essence of getting to the Geulah, our own personal Geulah, is what Am Yisrael did. We admit we made a mistake. That is what brought the Geulah. The Geulah was initiated by the fact that Am Yisrael was ready to admit that they did wrong. They lived up to their wrongdoings. They admitted their mistakes, and that was the springboard for the Geulah. And that is what repairs every single relationship. It's being able to see that I've done something wrong, admit that I made a mistake, and then lovey-dovey again. We can be once again and be united again with that particular person. If it's the neighbor, if it's our family, if it's our spouse, our child, whoever it is. But that is the essence of building any relationship. We all do something wrong at one point or another. Even if it's the way that I responded, even if it's the fact that I didn't respond with judging that person in favor, whatever it is, there, as they say, it takes two to tango. There's always something that I did wrong that I could repair. It's the idea to admit that I made a mistake. And they say that is like if you go to like the therapist today, they say, it's okay, admit that you made a mistake. Admit that you were wrong. It's okay. And then you can move forward. And this is where the pasuk comes in. Da ma lemala mimcha. Right? So we understand the pasuk to be Da mi lemala mimcha. Know what's above you, right? The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh comes up with an ingenious commentary on this pasuk. And he says, Da ma lemala. Know that what comes from above. Mimchahu. It's from you. In other words, everything that goes on in our lives, we should know it's because of us. What did we say? We learned in Megillat Eicha. Lo titzena haraot min hashamayim. Nothing bad comes from Hashem. Nothing. And soon we're going to see. Everything is good. It's all good. When it comes trickling down the heavenly realms, it's all good. It's because of me that it got distorted. My persecuting angels that came to ask Hashem, why are you sending down the shefa to this person? Don't you see what that person did? Mm-hmm. We did that. We did that. Again, this is not so that we go home and we say, boo-hoo, bad you, bad you. That's not the point. The point is, what did we say building a relationship is about me saying, I did wrong. Hashem made with his infinite endless Rahmanis, he created tshuva. We do tshuva. Hashem, aviti pashati chatati. I'm wrong, and now I need to come back to you, Hashem. And that is what brings us back to Hashem. And so we have to know that at the end of the day, really everything is because of us. Hashem only wants to do good, and He only does good. It just comes filtered down. By the time it filters down to us, it doesn't look so good sometimes, but it really is all good. And this is why all the difficulties eventually do have a purpose. Everything has a purpose, and we say this over and over again with every shiur. We reiterate it, we replant the whole idea that everything is here to wake us up. It's all a wake-up call. And so when Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem, Ad matai, when he sees the suffering of Am Yisrael in this week's parsha, he sees the suffering. He says, Ad matai. I'm always being asked by so many women, are you allowed to say that? It's like you're as if kvetching to Hashem. You're saying to him, Ad matai, until when, Hashem? Why aren't you stopping this difficulty? Why is Am Yisrael suffering so much? So when Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that asked the question. Moshe Rabbeinu asked, what is Hashem's response? And tell them, and God, Elohim, the word Elohim, which we said is judgment, spoke to Moshe and said to him, tell Am Yisrael, I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, I am Hashem. Remember the Elohim that you see, the judgment, all the difficulties, all the harshness, all the suffering that you see, it's the same thing as Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It's really a place of compassion. It's really merciful, and it's really all good. That is the secret of really taking us out of our exile, is constantly remembering that. And that's why we eat Oznei Haman. You know, I just today saw a video clip of someone who was making Oznei Haman, and I'm here to tell why there's actually, she gave a beautiful insight into why we eat Oznei Haman. I came up with something else, but she actually says that she heard from Rebbetzin Shira's Smiles, may she live and be well, that the idea is it has three corners, and three corners are the three camps in Am Yisrael, right? Yisrael, Levi, and Kohanim. And what's inside? Inside is sweetness. Tucked away in it is sweetness. And so that we should know that we're all corners of the same, three peas in the pod, right? We're all part and parcel of the same item, each one with their own angle, but inside of every single one of us, there's sweetness. That was a very beautiful way of looking at it. I was just a nice angle to it. But what I actually had learned was that another way of looking at it is that Oznei Haman, why do we eat it? Oznei Haman we eat because at the end of the day, the bitterness turned into sweetness. And so we celebrate by eating Haman because we realize that the bitterness, the decree that came out of Haman actually was our Geulah. In fact, is the harshness, from that particular place of harshness came the Geulah. And we're going to see this in various different ways on how it's written in the Parsha. So it says in the Megillah. In the Megillah it's written, Yeshno Am Echad. So there's two ways of looking at the word Yeshno. There's Yashen Vav. You take the letters Yud, Shin, Nun, Vav, Yeshno. You separate it. It's Yoshen Vav. So there's two ways of looking at it. Yoshen Vav means sleeping. The Vav is sleeping. What is the Vav? The Vav is a connector. What is a Vav? It means and. What does and do? The word and connects. It's also in a straight line. It connects heaven and earth. So what is sleeping? It's, so to speak, Haman is saying, Yeshno Am Echad. Yoshen Vav within the with the Am Yisrael. In other words, Hashem is sleeping. What does Haman see? Right after the Mishteh, he looks up in the stars, which we know that the star reading and black magic and all the voodoo stuff, that's all real, right? That's why Hashem says, don't believe, don't go to Ovdei Kochavim, because it really is true. We're not supposed to go. Because if we go, in fact, as I heard a commentary by a shiur by Rabbi Wallerstein, who once actually brought up the whole idea, and this is public knowledge, so I don't feel like I'm saying anything I shouldn't, that he was once with gambling, and at one point he was trying very hard to get rid of his gambling problem, and he sat in shul between Marv and Arvit, and he pulled out a book. I think it was the Kli Yakar or Kava Yashar, I don't remember which one, and it said there, and this is what really got him to stop gambling, what it said there was that all the money, he happened to open up the book, and where did it fall on? That all money that a person earns through gambling or through unkosher ways, after 120, the Satan comes to him and says, pay me back.
It's all from me.
Pay me back. What?
It's all from the Satan.
Right. It's all the money that person earns through untrue means has to be paid back. And so the idea, why did I say this? There was a reason why I said it. That sleeping, why did I say this exactly?
Looked up in the stars.
I looked up in the stars, right. And so why, what would that have to do with okay.
After the meal, after the feast.
After the feast, so why would I have? It'll come back to me. Okay, so I call it an MS moment. I'm having an MS moment. I don't remember exactly what I need to say.
The purpose was what he said, that Dafka on Shabbat, before Ravid and Mincha, he picked up the book, and Dafka had a problem with gambling,
right.
And he opened, and it said that all money is coming from the Satan. So
oh, I know now why I said it. Thank you. I needed that. Right, that's exactly what I needed.
Whenever you're going to come out, he owns your soul because he gave you all this for free.
Right, so that's where it comes down, where Ovdei Kochavim, when you go to have someone open the cards or someone reads astrology, they're going to be able to switch your mazel, but guess what? Where does it come from? It comes from the Satan. So in other words, when we go and we have an astrologer read our coffee cup or the cards or whatever it is that they choose to do, or get voodoo dolls and sticking whatever, all the garbage stuff that oh yes you do. Oh yes you do. Oh, you have it. Oh yeah. I know there is, unfortunately.
I've heard that a person who does these things attracts all kinds of klipot of tumah to them. So when a person goes to them, those klipot are transferred.
Right, it's all, right.
That's the real danger that's there. It's not that they can really have a problem with that. Dangerous klipot that they put into you when you're doing their thing is the real reason we're not supposed to be going there.
Look at that. So that's what I'm saying. So you're taking from the evil. The evil is assisting you to get what you want. At the end of the day, we're going to have to pay them. We're going to have to pay them back. So yes, we can get our mazel changed, and we can get this one to do that one that we really want, or change our mazel whatever way. But we're taking it from the sitra achra, the other side, and we're going to have to pay that other side back. So that's why I said that. So Haman was looking up in the stars, and he sees that Hashem's hashgacha was sleeping when it came to Klal Yisrael, and it was. It was. There is such a thing as Hashem's hashgacha being distanced because of why? Again, we put the veils. We went to the Mishteh. We went to the festivities. We had a grand old time. We were celebrating. Yes, we had to go. There was a decree and we had to go. And there was no problem with the actual going. It was a problem with us celebrating when we were there and being happy about it. When Achashverosh was putting out Klei HaMikdash and we should be mourning, we were sitting there having a good time, eating our machvud meat and gush katif vegetables. That was great. But bottom line is we shouldn't have enjoyed ourselves. And so the idea is, so he sees that the Am is on their own. And he says, oh, this is a great time. Now I know that my plan can, come through. Fact is, it's very interesting. There's a Rav, I keep drifting off, but things coming in my mind. There's a Rav called Rav Nir Artzi. Anybody hear of him? Yeah. So he's been coming out with a lot of messages coming out with what's going on and the current events and what's going to be and all these different prophecies and such. Anyway, basically the message kind of tells the same story every single week that I read it. But one thing that keeps repeating itself, which I didn't understand until just recently, is that Iran, the reason why Iran hasn't attacked us till now is because they're really afraid. In fact, today I read from another blog, and he says that the reason why Iran is scared is because they've tried a few times to actually do something to us, to, I guess, attack us, and they haven't succeeded. And they know 100%, they believe that the God of Israel is watching Israel, and they're waiting for that point where, God forbid, Hashem is, as if, so to speak, is going to sleep. So it's very interesting. Like, it really, really relates to this whole idea of Iran and Purim and the whole story. Same story happening. And I always say, if you don't, I wrote it actually on my Facebook page. I said, you know what? If you really want to know if Torah is real and true, read the headline news today. Read the news, and you'll see that prophecy, everything was written in the Torah, 3,000 plus years ago. Everything is coming true. Read the headlines. Come on. I mean, how can you not believe in Torah today? Really, with that, you just have to really not want to see it. I mean, you could create that veil, but not want to see it, but it's really all there. The other part of the Yeshen, Yeshno Am Echad, is that Am Yisrael itself was sleeping. And this is where we come in again to say that we're sleeping, and when we sleep, Hashem sleeps, and everything, our guard is put down. And those are the two things we have to know. In today's generation, in today's world, we have to know that we are most at danger when those two factors are in place. When we're sleeping, when we're far away from Hashem, and not only we're sleeping, but what is the continuation of this is, Yeshno Am Echad Mufrad Umefuzar. They're separated and they're scattered. And here there's a couple of dynamics. Not only is the nation itself scattered and not united amongst themselves, but what about me within myself? I myself, when I'm scattered-minded, when I'm in confusion, when I'm not whole within myself, when I'm not one, what is Emuna? Emuna is a wholeness within myself. I understand it has to all come from one place. What is the purpose of this world? L'shem yichud kudsha. It's to create oneness. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's to create oneness. When I, within myself, am being pulled in different directions, all my emotions are being pulled in different directions, I'm not one with Hashem, that in itself is also a mufrad and mefuzal. So those two factors are when we are open, unfortunately, and vulnerable to be oppressed by our enemies. When we are not united within ourselves, in myself, I'm not aligned with my purpose of why I'm here, I'm not one with Hashem. When the nation in itself is all, unfortunately, scattered, and when we're united, what are we united in? With our one purpose. So it means also that we're not doing, God forbid, Hashem's will. That is when we become most in danger. And what was the springboard for the redemption? When was the nahafohu? When did it happen? When we realized, when we have no one else to rely on. Once, and we're going to see this soon, in the Megillah, there was only one time where you could see most clearly that Hashem's name and Hashem's presence is actually injected in the Megillah. Of course, there's one that says HaMelech. Every time it says HaMelech, of course, we're told by Chazal that that's an indication that, it's referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there's one other place in the Megillah where, and we'll say this towards the end, where we could see clearly that it's a call out and it's being referred to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But, yeah.
So when you read the Megillah, you get the feeling that really everybody came to this awareness that there's nobody to rely on except our Hashem.
But when? Only at the end.
At the end, but...
And it was only through Mordechai and Esther.
Like, you really get the feeling in our generation, there will be some people that will not come to this awareness.
Right.
So if Hashem is going to wait for all of us to get to this awareness...
I'm going to say this, and I'll say this with certainty, the most certainty. And Rachel Imeinu, it's written on her kever. May her memory be blessed and protect us. It's written that Rachel Imeinu mevakal banea ki enenu. What did we say? What was the chazal on this? That Rachel Imeinu, which is depicted as being representation of the Shechina Kadosha, she cries ki enenu. Enenu talks about singular. It's one person. But she mevaka al banea. She's crying on all of her children. But then when it says ki enenu, it's only saying one. Ki enenu. What does that mean? It means the Shechina Akadosha is crying over everyone. Why? Because even if one single neshama is missing from the collectiveness of Am Yisrael, the Shechina is going to continue to cry. And so what do we learn from this? The Geulah Hashem will not accept a partial Geulah. He's waiting for everyone to come back. And let me tell you, when Hashem wants something, He's going to get it. Every neshama, whether they like it or not, better that they come back on their own will, because then they're going to be likely to, of course, get eternal reward. But Hashem's not giving up on any neshama. Hashem knows where every one of His precious, diamonds are lying. And He's going to get...
Only Jewish neshamas?
The Jewish neshamas, and I guess obviously if there's something that He, of course, needs to extract from the righteous Gentiles, I'm sure, when it's infinite wisdom. But yes, every Jewish soul, and there are many people that don't know. I mean, what are you going to say about them? How many Jews are walking around wearing crosses? They don't even know they're Jewish. Hashem Yerachem. Right. It's just beyond. Right. Muslims. Right. We were talking about that, right? And so the idea is Hashem is not going to give up. Hashem will lighten up the soul of every single Jew that needs to come back. It's part of the Geulah process. That's why we say we're going through a filterization right now. There are a lot of people that walk the walk and talk the talk, look like they're Jew, look like there might be Erev Rav. They might not have, a single drop of Jewish blood in. We don't know. We don't know. Today, we say this last year, Purim every day. It's Purim every day. And that's the whole idea about the mask. I'm as if showing I'm someone else, but really, this whole Purim story is about discovering who I really am. It's putting on a mask, saying, every day I have a mask on. But who am I really? The Megillah tells me who I really am. Because I'm connected to my Am. I'm connected to my nation. And so when we can get to the point where we can look at Bibi speaking at the U.S. Congress and say it doesn't matter what he says. It has nothing to do with him. He's a shaliach, right? There's no government. There's no politicians. It doesn't matter. Obama likes him, doesn't like him. Bibi is good, is not good. Who's going to win in the elections? It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. I always say, I don't live in Medinat Yisrael. I live in Admat Kodesh. I live in Eretz Yisrael. There's a big difference. I don't live in the Medina called Yisrael because the Medina is run, unfortunately, by people who really are anti-Torah. So I love this country. I believe in serving in the army. I served in the army myself before I came back to Tshuva. I believe in all of that. But I don't believe in the way this country is run. It's not run in a way that's conducive to Torah teaching. And so for me, I look at it, it's a holy land. It's a land for the Jewish people, no question. But the way that it's run, unfortunately, that's part of our punishment. That's part of the galus. I'm not supposed to feel like everything's complete in this country. I had one woman say to me, but what do you mean you're in galus? You're living in Eretz Yisrael. I said, it doesn't matter. People think that if you're living in Eretz Yisrael, you're not in galut. No. We're in galut just as much, maybe even more so. Right, maybe even we feel it even more because we feel like, we're here. We should really be feeling Hashem. We do, but we have to still work hard to get a, that touchy-feely feeling from Hashem, just like everyone else.
I live in a bubble.
What?
They asked me in Toronto, I said, I live in a bubble.
I'm telling you. I sometimes, I don't know who, what, where I'll keep asking my husband. He doesn't even know. When is the elections again? Did we get the notice? I mean, I know we're supposed to vote, but, I myself, it's better to distance.
Unfortunately, we elect the same stupid people and nothing changes.
What are we going to do? Again, we have to be part and parcel. We have to do our share. I listen to the Gedolim. If the Gedolim say to me that it's important for me to vote, you betcha I'm going to go out and vote. They're my Torah. They're my leader. That's who I choose to be my leader. I'm not living in a bubble to the point where I don't listen to anybody. The Gedolim they represent for me what I'm supposed to do. I go with them. Small, that's my narrow-mindedness. You tell me. Aye, sir, I'm there. I'm doing what you want. So what is Amalek? Why is the whole idea of Purim? I want every one of us to be very, very strong and conscious of the day of Purim, the Ta'anit tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, as well as Purim itself. First of all, there's the Purim page on the website. Please, I encourage everyone. Zahava did such a fantastic job. It's so lively and so pretty and so, festive. Look on the Purim. Yeah, on the website, www.dailydoseofemuna.com. Right here. To look on the Purim page, there's amazing insights. What to do for the Ta'anit, what to do for Purim, what you should be focusing. It's a day of immense simcha, but it's also a day of immense tefillah. For instance, Chatzot Alayla, tomorrow night, after the Megillah reading. Chatzot Alayla, Mordechai HaTzadik went out in front of the Shechina after the Tzom, took 22,000 Talmidim, young, Tinokot shel Bet Rabban, and davened to Hashem. And in that zchut, the decree was nullified. Tomorrow night at Chatzot Alayla is a moment where, what does it say on Purim? Kol poshet yad notnim lo, right? Everyone who outstretches their hand, Hashem, you're supposed to give it to them. Chazal say, there's also another way of looking at it. You stretch out your hand to Hashem and say, Hashem, I need X, Y, and Z. Hashem's not saying no. It's the one day where Hashem doesn't say no. Such compassion. Chatzot is like 20 to 12, according to the clock around today. It's about, look on your calendars to be sure, but I think it's around 20 to 12. It's a moment not to miss. The Breslev custom, I'm sure you've heard about it too, right, Tzipi? Is to stay up for 6 hours. Sick all night tomorrow night, stay up. And do 6 hours and ask for one request, and that you won't be unanswered. It's 6 hours. I know it's hard. I did it almost 1 year. I didn't get to the 6 hours. I don't remember if I was even answered, but maybe it's because I was short of the 6 hours. But there's a big inyan tomorrow night to be davening, and the whole idea of Purim. On Purim is a day where we are injected with amazing, amazing Emuna, because it's the mitzvah of wiping out Amalek. What is Amalek? Amalek means Amal Kuf. You separate the letters, Amal Kuf. All of our Amal, all of our work in this world, what does Amalek try to do? All of the avoda that we do, he separates it and gives it to the Kuf. What is the Kuf? The Kuf is the klipot. He gives it to the other side, right? Sitra Acha is the other side. That's what Amalek wants to do, is to constantly create divisiveness within ourselves, within our community, between me, God forbid, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is Amalek's mission. And so it's on this day where we get to see the hiddenness of Hashem's Hashgacha that we piece it all together. And that's one of the reasons, which I think I wrote it in today's Daily Dose, why the Megillah has to be read in order to come and fulfill our obligation. It has to be read from a scroll and not from a book. Because just like our life is one big story unraveling one event after the next, we have to read it as a scroll. And fact is that the Baal Koreh, the one who reads, is not allowed to stop excessively in between reading the Megillah. He's not allowed to take a lot of breaks. He has to keep saying it and keep saying it and keep saying it. And one of the main parts and avoda of every single one of us while we hear the Purim Megillah, the biggest avoda for every single one of us is to not only listen to every single word. That's by sure very important, 100%, because it injects light into our neshama. It injects Emuna into our neshama, and that's why we're supposed to listen to every single word of the Megillah. But not only that, we're supposed to look at the Megillah as it's being read and start connecting dots. That's our job during the Megillah, is to say, oh, do you see over here how Vashti dies? Oh, I know we're going to soon read that Esther is going to come in. And guess what? When Esther comes in, that's our redemption. Oh, here's Haman saying to Achashverosh, what are you going to do in order to be respectful to someone? Oh, now it's going to happen more. And it's to connect the dots, to see one event after the next. Because when I see one event, when I just hear of one particular event, I don't really necessarily see Yad Hashem. I don't see the miraculous nature. But when I connect everything, when I see it unfolding, when I connect the dots, then I could see the bigger picture. And then I could see myself in the Megillah and say, oh, you know what? Now I could connect. Remember what happened? Remember how I met my husband? What a chain of events how I met him. I can't believe it. I was just coming out from the coffee shop and then this one and he met me. And look and how I am 15 years later with 20 children and da-da-da and so on and so forth. I painted all blue. Why not? So the bottom line is you were supposed to see everything in our life. We're supposed to see everything in the Megillah as if it's me. I'm living out my life in the Megillah. I need to see the hiddenness of everything in the Megillah. And that is the mitzvah of Ad Delo Yada. What is Ad Delo Yada? I'm going to say, blessed is Haman and cursed is Mordechai? What is that? Well, first of all, let's just say, we remember the teaching that the Geulah, what is the Geulah all about? What is the description of the Geulah? Mlo haaretz de'ah et Hashem, right? The whole world will know that there is a Hashem. That's depicted as the phrase that describes the way we're going to feel when it's Geulah. There's going to be no question. We're going to see the table, we're going to see Hashem's hand in it. We're going to see, whatever we see, we're going to see Hashem. There's going to be no more Yetzer Hara, no more free will. On Purim, we're supposed to get to the point where we have no more da'at. We realize that we have no da'at. We don't know nothing. Ad Delo Yada. I don't know if Mordechai is good. I don't know if Haman is bad. I thought Haman was bad, but look, he brought about the Geulah for us. He woke us up. He was a good guy at the end. I mean, he wasn't good at the end, but he extracted good from us at the end. At the end of the day, Haman served his purpose. Hashem said, okay, Haman, you need to come down here to this world and do evil. For one reason, you got to wake up my children. They're sleeping. They need needles poked at their tush. They got to start waking up. They got to start waking up. They're sleeping. Wake them up, Haman. And Haman woke us up, and then he was off the screen. That's it. He was off the scene of the Megillah. He did what he was supposed to. So at the end of the day, was he really? Of course he did what he did bad. Thank God he didn't. The plans weren't executed. But he did what he was supposed to do. He got us to come awake. So that's why I get to the point when I fulfill my Purim mitzvah, I have to get to the point, Ad Delo Yada. I don't know nothing, Hashem. Isn't that what Emuna is? I know nothing. I don't know what you're doing up there in your workshop, Hashem. I don't know what concoctions you're putting together for me in my life. It appears that there's so many Hamanim and there's so many Mordechais, but do I really know what's good or bad? I have no clue. At the end of the day, it's all about me saying, I have no dot. It's the Galuta dot. We are in Galuta dot. We have no dot. Our job is to gain the dot. And on Purim, when nothing made sense, and it appeared that Hashem wasn't even involved, that's the day where I celebrate, Hashem, I have no dot. I know nothing. And that's why I could say, blessed is this and cursed is that. Because for me, it's one and the same. That's the mitzvah of Purim, is to see that and acknowledge and celebrate it. Not to say, oh, poor me, boo-hoo, I don't know what's good. No, I'm celebrating it. You know why? Because I don't need that. Because the bus driver of my life, who's taking me down the journey of my life, is the most amazing bus driver. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly where I need to get off. He knows exactly the detours. He knows the bump roads. He knows the construction sites. He knows everything. He knows exactly where I need to go. And that, for me, is a reason to celebrate. And that's why the hiddenness, it's all it's all phony-wony. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter for me if I see it or if I don't. It's all run by Hashem. And then, let me just come to the end of this, the beautiful idea of the Megillah, which this should infuse us with such Emuna in Hashem's kindness and compassion. What's written in the Megillah? How is Haman introduced on the scene of the Megillah? The whole beginning part of the Megillah, pay attention, it doesn't say Haman. Only like a quarter into the Megillah do we say we mention the word, the name Haman. And it's only after this pasuk where it says, Achar hadvarim ha'ele. After these things occurred, then it mentions Haman. He suddenly appears on the scene. But he appears on the scene, and he's mentioned in the Megillah. The evil character of the Megillah is mentioned only after Vashti's already dead, and Esther is already put on the scene. Esther has already secured her place in the king's palace. What does this teach us? What does this really teach for us is that Hashem always puts a Haman, unfortunately, in the scene. In everyone's unfolding Megillah of their life, there's always going to be Hamanim. There's unfortunately always going to be. But only after there's an Esther. Only after Hashem places in our lives the Tufa Makah, right? What did Chazal teach us? Hashem will give the Makah. He'll give, unfortunately, the trouble, the difficulty, the heartache, the challenge in our lives. But only after He's already administered the medicine. The medicine is ready to be put into the IV. It's just a matter of us waking up, doing what the Haman was meant to do for us. Wake us up. Once I've woken up, Esther can now appear and do her thing. We've done our fasting. We've done our tshuva. Now Esther can do her share. Esther can come, stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, beseech Rachamei Shamayim, the administering angels that we created through our tshuva now come to Hashem and say, Haman needs to be hung. He's not needed here on the scene anymore. Do you see the Megillah? Go read further. This person did tshuva. Okay, Esther now can really go ahead and do and fulfill her tafkid. And that teaches us an amazing insight, is we have to look at all of the difficulties, all the evilness, all everything in the face of, okay, Hashem, what are you trying to say, right? The four buttons. What are you trying to say to me, Hashem? I know you sent this to me in order to wake me up. Now that I'm waking up, okay, Hashem, no more Haman. And so I promised you there's one point in the Megillah where we can actually sense Hashem's presence more so than anywhere else. And that's where Esther HaMalkah goes over to Mordechai and she says to Mordechai, go to Am Yisrael and tell them. What does she say to tell them?
Fast with me.
Tzumu alai, fast for me. Wait a minute. It can't be that this would mean that she's referring to anything else but telling Mordechai to tell Am Yisrael, tell them to fast for me. What is fasting? The whole idea of fasting is a day of tshuva. It's a day of tefillah. And so Esther HaMalkah knew, I'm only a representative. Esther HaMalkah is likened to the Kohen HaGadol. What can the Kohen HaGadol already do in Kodesh HaKodeshim on Yom Kippur if Am Yisrael doesn't do tshuva? If Am Yisrael doesn't do tshuva, if they don't fast, Esther's, Kohanim Gdolim, the leaders, the Gdolim, all of our Rabbeim, they can't do anything without us. We are the koach that give to the leaders. Fact is, that's one of the things we're supposed to daven for on Purim, is we daven for the leaders. We daven for the Esthers and the Mordechais in our generation. It's written on the page. Go visit the website. We're supposed to daven that the righteous people, the righteous leaders of our generation, that we should be able to give them the koach that they need to represent us in the high court, to nullify those decrees, to be able to represent us and be good, loyal advocates on our behalf, so that, but we give them the koach. And so here we learn and we see Hashem's clear presence. Esther HaMalkah understood this very, very well. She knew that all of her koach lied in one thing, and that's that Am Yisrael should do tshuva, that you should do tefillah. And this is where it comes to play, that famous kafbed perek of Tehillim that we're supposed to be saying every day leading up to Purim and inclusive of Purim. What's written there? What does Esther HaMalkah say? Eli, Eli, lama azavtani. Eli, Eli, look how intimate she is with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Look how she's desperate, how much she relies on Hashem's presence. She doesn't say Yud Kei Vav Kei. Eli, my God, not once, twice. Eli, Eli, lama azavtani. Rachok mishuati. Rachok, you're very far away from me. But then a few psukim later, what does she say? Becha vatchu avotenu. V'tefaltemo, bechavatchu, they trusted in you. Avot shelanu, our forefathers, they trusted in you, and you saved them, and they weren't disappointed. Because what happens when you call out Eli, Eli? What happens when we're in a position where we call out Eli, Eli in such an intimate, such a desperate, yearning, craving cry? What happens? Bechavatchu, I'm telling Hashem, I trust in you. V'tefaltemo. and you're going to save us. I'm not going to be disappointed. If there's one place I could put all my energy in, if there's one place I know I can turn to and know that it's going to be answered, I will. That's the story of our lives. I do wrong, I do tshuva, I pray, I reach out to Hashem, and I see the Geulah. So a woman wrote to me just recently, you're saying that we're going to see the Geulah. I don't see my Geulah. Why are you saying to me that that's the story of my life? So I said to her, you're still in the middle of the Megillah. The Megillah hasn't ended. So long as we're still living till 120, I'm still in the middle of my unfolding life. So I can't say, not only that, do I really know if my Geulah has come? I don't know. Haman was part of the Geulah too. I don't know. I don't know where my Geulah really lies. But I have to trust in Hashem. It always comes back to the same thing. Is to be in that point, what do we say? Emuna surrenders and accepts. Intellect struggles and questions. We need both. I didn't say we don't need intellect. But at the end of the day, Emuna is a place of accepting. I accept the fact that I don't understand. And here, it is, in particular, during the Megillat Esther that we get to really see it. We didn't understand what it was all about. We didn't understand why Esther, why Vashti, what's going on here. Random events. And yet I'm going to look at the Megillah and I'm going to see it slowly unfold. And I'm going to say, de lo yada, how much I don't know Hashem. I really have no doubt who might even think of it. Who would have even thought that Haman would be the one to bring about the Geulah? And yet this is exactly what happened. One last idea I want to bring. The Megillah takes 20 minutes to read. But anyone know how long it really spanned for? 9 years. 20 minutes tells the story of 9 years. And then we can look at it and say, oh, look, again, as we said before, look how this happened just 10 minutes ago when they just read it. Look how this affected. That's how quickly things make sense once you get into the place where you're in the Megillah, where you're in the presence of Hashem, where you're willing to surrender your dot to Hashem. That is when you can suddenly see things very quickly, how this makes sense with that, and this makes sense with this, and now I could see why this happened, and things start coming together, and you see the interconnectedness, and you see, the linkage between one event to the other that seemed random just 5 minutes ago. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that should be our mission, is to really have the Megillah be unfold in front of us, and to see Be'ezrat Hashem the Geulah also unfold in front of us. Be'ezrat Hashem.
Really, the message then of Purim, it really can be applied to everything in our life, because like you just said with Haman, in a sense, the positive aspect of him is that he brought the Geulah. So we can say about Hitler, we got the state of Israel from what came out of the Holocaust.
That was a harsh, yeah. I mean, it's very hard to, I think. Right.
Basically,
but I understand what you're saying. Right.
We really don't know anything.
No, we don't know. We don't know
Hashem's plan.
We don't know.
And our Megillah as a nation, and all of history, we're still in the middle also.
100%, and it's still unfolding.
Right.
It's absolutely still unfolding in front of us. So we do.
We got Obama. It's really good that he's there.
I'm sure. You know what? I'm positive that it's good. I'm positive. I think he's Armilus Rasha. Who they say is going to be the one who's going to start the whole Gog and Magog. I really think he is, and I think that it is. All our Yeshua is going to come from him. I really do believe that. I mean, again, I'm no prophet, but I'm reading enough that I think that that's what it's really pointing at. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, listen, all the signs are here. We are totally, at the end of the end here. We really, really need to get our act together. And, like I said, I think the thing that talks to me the most is every time a makkah of some sort or another hits my home, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Emuna boot camp. I've just graduated from the past level, and now you're bringing me up. I want to be fit for the officers, course here. So we have to constantly realize that everything. I said this on the class that I did yesterday. I said, how can we possibly transfer from a life that's totally material to a life that's going to be totally spiritual? We all are excited about it to some degree. We're scared, we're excited, we're frightened of everything and together. How is Hashem going to make that transition as easy and as smooth as possible? We have to be in training. We have to get used to see beyond our material reality. And I was saying this yesterday, when I lived in Muncie just before we made Aliyah, I thought to myself, I'm really not very materialistic, because I don't really have so much money. How much can I really buy? I was a Walmartaholic. I love to go to Walmart. It was one of the things I miss most here in Israel. The Costco we've got. So what? Yeah, I miss the Walmart. It's very nice going in. You can get a good deal for $5 and you're out of, whatever.
What's Costco?
Costco?
No, I mean, you said we have Costco.
We have Costco, Osherod, Kirkland, yeah. We got the Kirkland brand, so we've got our Costco here.
Not quite the same.
We need to Walmart.
Right, we need a few Walmarts, right.
Yes.
Done kosher though, not with the, what do they call it, the slave workers in China. We don't want that, happening.
It puts a lot of people out of business.
Yeah.
It's a big store.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was living in Muncie, and I thought to myself, you're not really very materialistic. This whole idea, people saying materialism, you got to pull away, and so on and so forth. Then I came here to Israel, and I realized, yeah, you are kind of materialistic, because you're missing all those things that you had, those comfort little luxuries that you had in America. I guess you really are materialistic. And then I think to myself, well, now you're not, because you've been here already for 5+ years. You've certainly grown out of it, and so on and so forth. I heard a very beautiful vart by Rav Lugassi Shlita, who teaches a lot about Emuna, and I listen a lot to his classes. And he says something very interesting. After 120, we're going to go over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem's going to say, I don't understand, I put you in this world. You're supposed to be so all spiritual. What happened to you? You were very materialistic. And you're going to say to Hashem, what are you talking about? Did you see that cockamamie house I was living in? The grout was falling off. There were stains all over my wall. There was, sewage coming out from my kitchen every Monday and Thursday. My car was a clunky car from Cards for Kids. What are you talking about? I had no Tommy Hilfiger shirts in my closet. I was totally not materialistic. And Hashem's going to say, but you know what? You weren't materialistic according to your standards because I didn't give you money. But guess what? If I would have given you money, oh boy, you want to know what you were thinking all along, all throughout your life? If only I had. What would I buy? The kitchen galore I would make. The marble I would put on my floor. And Hashem says that's how we're going to be judged. Does it matter that on the outside it appears to me that I go to the gemach and buy my clothes there and I don't look for the all luxury part? What is going on in my mind? What is going on really in my mind? Where is my enthusiasm? Is my enthusiasm when I walk into my friend's house and I see the newest gadget on her counter? Or is the enthusiasm when my son comes home and tells me his chiddush on the Torah? Where is my enthusiasm more so than other? And according to that, I could be a real judge, somewhat, to where I really am. So Hashem says, we think we're not materialistic. You are. I have to pull that out from you. Otherwise, how are you going to survive in an all-spiritual world that we're about to enter?
But a certain amount of comfort is not necessarily materialism.
Didn't say that. It's all in the mind. If I want to?
If you live in a broken house, the paint is peeling, the windows are broken. I don't know, the chairs have 3 legs. I don't think it's materialistic to say, if I
100%.
had money, I'd paint the walls, I'd get new windows, and fix the chairs.
But would I paint the walls with the most exclusive paint and then have a special painter come in and do a special mirage on my... Okay, so here. So I was saying this yesterday at the class. I said, how can we really judge between wanting and needing? What do I need and what do I want? It's a big question. It's a very big question. I came up with a fabulous, somewhere along the line with my learning and reading, I came up with this, somewhere I read, this fabulous point of advice. If you would have to today provide for a newlywed couple coming into a house, they're basics, right? They don't have any money, and they put you in charge to raise money to come up with the basic stuff that a young couple moving into a new house, starting off their new life, what would they really need? If you put in there a refrigerator, what kind of a refrigerator would you put in? The newest Sub-Zero or a basic refrigerator? Would you put in air conditioning? Chances are yes, because today you really need air conditioning. Would you give them leather couches? Not necessarily. Maybe I would go for the fabric, or the secondhand. What you would put up for them, for their standards, because you think that they can live with that, the basics of the basics, that's what you should be living with, if you really want to talk about what you want and what you need. You understand? Would you say, oh, they really don't need, this type of set of dishes. They can go for those type of set of dishes. That should be our standard. According to what I would provide for someone else, and I think someone else needs, that's what should be my standard for myself. And that gives a very good indication of how I can distinguish between want and need. Would I really provide that with a newlywed couple? Would I go begging from door to door for people to give me money? And I would say to them, well, they really need a Whirlpool, 20-pound, washing machine. Why do they need Why can't they just live with, a standard Gold line or whatever the other, generic forms of, you understand what I'm saying? And that's how we have to judge. It's a very hard thing. It's very hard. I'm not on that level. It's very hard. But that's something we have to understand, that we have to strive for. And so who knows if at the end of the day, those of us who are suffering tremendously from Parnasa, who have such difficulty making ends meet, if it's not the bracha that Hashem is choosing us out of all others, because he says, you know what, you're going to have to live without it at one point or another. I'm just making the transition easier for you. I know, again, we could fight tooth and nail all the derech. It's not an easy derech, but we have to assume that it's all good. Hashem loves us. It's got to be, there's great message behind it. And one day, like I said, all the answers will be given to us. We will understand. Bezrat Hashem, we should be at a level of acceptance and surrendering our will to Hashem's will, and see the Geulah Bezrat Hashem. Everyone coming to dance with me in the Beit HaMikdash, please? Yes? Women's section? Yes, we're all going to be there.
When you say acceptance, by accepting, do you think that you gain more clarity onto things? Or is that, what if things are happening and it's just like a blur? You don't know why or what you're supposed to be doing?
Well, if it's happening, I have to accept it, not fight it. If it's happening, that means it's Hashem's will that it should happen exactly this way. I could say, well, I could have, should have, would have. The past year when we've always said, could have, would have, should have are anti-Emuna statements. We should never say that, because if it would have, could have, should have, it would be, right? If it didn't, then it didn't. In other words, even if it was me that made that choice, at the end of the day, it wasn't really me, because if Hashem would have really wanted it to happen, I could have stopped. I always say, you could stand on your eyelashes. You wouldn't have been able to stop Hashem from doing it. So if I'm in this place here right now, even if I don't understand exactly why it's happening or how it's happening or what it's going to lead to, I need to accept it. But Emuna is accepting today and davening for a better tomorrow. So I accept
But
it.
as far as the clarity, sometimes you don't get that
No.
first.
That comes in time. And the only time you get clarity is when you let go of your pre-notions, your preconceptions. If you haven't set idea of why this is happening, you leave no room for Hashem to put in and inject His da'at and His truth into you. Our job is to constantly clean out our vessel. I know nothing, Hashem. You know everything. Fill me up. As I always say, we're running on empty, right? You're running on empty, and Hashem says, oh my gosh, look at my daughter. She's running on empty. She has nothing there. Let me start filling her up. That's when all the shefa comes. That's when all the bracha comes. That's when all the clarity comes. Hashem says, look, she's lost without me. She's wandering. I got to provide her with something. I have to provide her with a GPS or a tour guide or something, someone to help her here. But if I'm having it and I'm saying I know everything and I'm full of myself, I know exactly what's going on, I know exactly what to do from here. Hashem says, oh, you're okay, I'm going to go to the next one. Right? Who are you going to give money to? To the one who says I don't have, right? Hashem, I have nothing, give me. Hello, Hashem's going to give me. Tefillah la'ani, that's the tefillah la'ani, the one who's poor, who says to Hashem, I'm nothing, I am nothing without you, help me Hashem. I am totally a child who's dependent on her loving Father. And that is the approach. That's the approach. And with that comes clarity. Hashem says, oh, you don't know, let me tell you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to lead you. Take my hand. I'm going to lead you exactly where you need to go. And with that, you're going to start seeing things. How does it come? Can't explain it. Not logical. You just start getting it's called Mamash Ruach HaKodesh, these unconscious things planted into your mind, where you start hearing what you call the Bat Kol. The Bat Kol is the daughter of the Ruach HaKodesh. You start getting these ideas tightly planted in your unconscious mind, and you're suddenly feeling like you have this new clarity, and you're like, wait, where did things just suddenly make sense? Nothing changed. The same reality, the same difficulties, the same mishigas going on in your life, not finding work, the children doing this, and suddenly it's like, oh, I can handle this. It's okay. Where did that come from? That's Hashem planting. He's saying, I can give it to you. Just let go of your own self. That's why they say, the Zohar Kadosh says, the worst enemy of us is our ego. It's when I am full of myself, when I feel like I know it all and I could do it all. It's the worst. That is the Amalek. That is the separation. I think I could do without anybody's help. It's like, think of it in your own life. Look how Hashem gives us lessons in our own life. If you go and a neighbor says to you, can I help you? And you say, oh, no, I'm really okay. She might come over to you even one more time and say, can I help you? And no, really, I'm okay. I got everything organized. She's going to come and offer you again help? No, she's going to go to someone else. She's going to ask that other person, can I offer you some help? The other person's going to say yes. Of course she's going to go and help him. Same thing. Same concept. I say to Hashem, I need help. Hashem's going to say, okay, I'm going to come and help you. If I say to Hashem, I don't need help, all right, I'll move on to someone else. There's plenty others out there who need my help. I'll go over to them and I'll offer my help to them. They'll be glad to get it, you know. We can learn so much about Hashem's interactions. I always say, if we just look at our own lives, our own interpersonal relationships that we have with people, with spouse, children, friends, family, we can learn so much. Just have to live life aware. Be aware of your interactions and learn and take the lessons from it. Okay, Baruch Hashem.
Even if you're attracting it.
Even if you're attracting it, then that means it's your tikkun. It's your tikkun, tailor-made, just for you. With the tassels and the colors and the frills and everything. Perfectly meant for you. Because that's where your godless lies. That's where you're going to find your godliness. After you surpass that difficulty. As I always say, behind curtain number 1 lies an amazing yocheved. And a yocheved that you didn't even realize existed. It was in potential. Everything's in potential. Avraham Avinu, why did he go through the test? It was all potential. It had to be actualized. Hashem said, you have a potential to become an Avraham Avinu. You have all this godless. Let's see what you're going to do with it. I'll test you. Let's see. If you pass the test, we're starting to unravel. Look at this amazing artistry that's now forming. Oh, another test. You've just taken off another wrapping. Look what's going on here. Look how it's formed. And this is how we're going to see ourselves after 120. I was here and look what the Emuna did. Wow, I'm a flowering blossom. That's what happens to us. We'll fight our way throughout everything, but what comes out of us is the best. It's the most purest form of godliness. Yep. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, let's say a person has a job and they're not happy at the job for whatever reason. I don't know, they don't get along with coworkers or it's too much lachas, whatever it is. How do they know if it's supposed to be that they move on, they leave this job and find something better? Or Hashem has some precious pearls in this situation that I'm supposed to gain. I'm supposed to work on myself. I have to learn how to deal with these kinds of people. How do you know if it's something that you're supposed to just learn from and grow from, or are you supposed to leave?
Right. So it's like basically you're asking, when you're in the midst of any difficult situation, and even in the midst of a difficult marriage, how do you know when it's time to leave and get up and get a divorce? Or how do you know when it's time for you have an annoying neighbor, and how do you know when it's time for you to move to a different apartment? Or you're supposed to live with those neighbors? It's like in anything. When you're in a nisayon, how do you know if it's really good for you? How do you know if you should stay there and just absorb the difficulty and it's going to build you to be who you really need or not? So the idea is, we are in this world to try to steer away from suffering. So long as we're in this world, that's why there's 2 different brachas, right? Tov ve'emeti, v'baruch ta'anai met. In this world, we see separateness. We see difficulty as being difficult. We try to run away from it, of course. Of course, if we were in the world to come and we had that dot and we had the godly vision, we wouldn't run away from it. We'd realize it's all good. But in this world, so long as we have the garment called the body, and we're not all in touch with our soul and our soul mission, then of course we're going to try to away from difficulties as much as possible. It's normal. And Hashem wants that. Remember, we spoke about this in past Shurim. It's one of the reasons why we don't understand everything is so that we will do whatever we can to alleviate suffering. Not only in my life, but in someone else's life. But the idea is, so let's just take the idea of the work. I'm now at a job, and like you said, I'm not really happy with it. The normal thing to do is to start now, I'm going to act based on my intellect. I'm going to say, okay, well look, the job market is not really so good right now. It might be hard for me to find a job, but you know what? It's becoming so unbearable, I'm going to put my resume out there. Now, it may take me 6 months to find another job. So long as I'm still there in that job, I realize that I have to still be there. It's Hashem's ratzon for me to be there, but that doesn't mean I'm not trying to escape the suffering. But so what do we say? Accepting it. I'm there right now. Right now. It could be even that I feel like I just can't stand this marriage anymore and I need to get a get. But get takes time. Maybe they're going to ask me to go through therapy first. Maybe they're going to, whatever, right? So long as I need to be in that difficult, suffering, painful situation, I need to understand Hashem needs me to be there. It's going to take me time to sell my house with those annoying neighbors, right? It doesn't happen overnight. I can sell the house. So long as I'm still in the house, it's unbearable for me. I have to sell my house. I have to move somewhere else. But so long, I think I'm selling the house on my terms. No. Hashem will decide when your tikkun is over with those neighbors, when your tikkun is over with your big boss in that particular job, when your tikkun is over with that husband of yours, that's when the get, that's when the job will come, that's when the new house will arrive.
And if you can't find a new job and you can't sell your house, it means Hashem wanted you to stay there.
Hashem, you have a better plan for me. Some way, I need to be here. What else is there? I do my hishtadlus at the end of the day. Hashem, obviously you think it's bad. Why I'm suffering greatly, but it's like every other
I just
nisayon.
think it's up to us.
Nothing.
People spend so much time trying to make decisions and
Wasted energy. I'm listening now to a series of tapes by Rabbi Ephraim Waxman Shlita, amazing tapes on faith. I listened to it years and years ago. I didn't appreciate it then. Now I appreciate it. I'm sitting there and I'm like writing notes on everything. I'm like, wait a minute, Rabbi, I'm pressing pause every 5 seconds, writing down notes. And I'm thinking of everything, what gems, what pearls of wisdom are coming out of him. And he says, if we only understood, and I'm just finished the number 5, it talks about Parnasa. And he says, if we would just understand that Parnasa is a fine that we have to pay because of the curse of Adam Rishon. We said this in different words, but he put it in such beautiful wording. He says it's just a fine. It's a tax we have to pay in order to earn our parnasa. That's all that it is. It has nothing to do. If a person would only see the only reason why he's working is to fulfill the gzera of Adam Rishon, of the curse. That's the only reason why he's working. And to practice honesty. To practice Emuna in his workplace. That's it. To be a kiddush Hashem. He says, you're going to work, you're angry at your work, at someone who works with you, and you don't scream at him because you want to be a kiddush Hashem. That's why that's the reason why you made parnasa. To do that one particular act. It has nothing to do with the paycheck. We should just internalize the message. Internalize it, how true it is. Everything is from Hashem. It's nothing, like I said, I have nothing to do with this life. I'm just here. It's nothing to do with me. I'm here to serve Hashem. Eved Hashem, Ovdei Hashem, Tulo, that's it.
That's why we are putting this word to be Ovdei Hashem.
Ovdei Hashem, but we're not. We want to be Ovdei Atzmi. We want to be the Melech. That's the problem. We want to be a Melech in our own lives. We want to control. And that is where the problem, that's where it begins and that's where it ends. Take yourself out of the picture and accept it with love. I love you, Hashem. I couldn't have asked for a better boss. You got my whole IRA package planned for me, my pension, my dividends. It's all ready. It's all prepared for me. What am I fighting you for? Because I don't see it. You're storing it away on an eternal bank account. How am I supposed to know? One day it's going to all reap. I'm complaining about, because I'm here in the here and now. I only see, that's the exile. It's only here. I only see what's right here in front of me. This is it. No, go beyond. Emuna is going beyond. It's extending beyond the skull. The skull is limited. How much brain power can it fill? I go beyond my body. I go above my body. I'm Emuna. The avoda of a lifetime. Huh? It's never easy. It's never easy. Not always. It's never easy. But that's the avoda. Adam la'amol yulad. That's his avoda. To work for his Emuna. Zlat Hashem, shenizkeh v'netzliach Hashem aleinu b'chama v'yomviach.
What does bother me with Purim? They mentioned Haman and